The tragic voyage of the Titanic. The story of the RMS Titanic is one of the most famous tales in maritime history. It is a story of human ambition, technological innovation, social contrasts, and ultimately tragedy. The Titanic was not just a ship, it was a symbol of an era marked by rapid progress, wealth, and the unshakable belief in human ingenuity. Yet its sinking on April 15, 1912, during its maiden voyage, remains a chilling reminder of human fallibility. The Titanic was the second of three massive ocean liners built by the White Star Line as part of its Olympic-class fleet. Conceived to dominate the transatlantic passenger trade, these ships would rival the vessels of Cunard, White Star's greatest competitor. Construction of the Titanic began in 1909 at the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, Ireland. At 882 feet in length and weighing over 46,000 tons, it was the largest ship in the world at the time. The Titanic was designed to carry over 2,200 passengers and crew, with luxurious accommodations for the wealthy and modest yet efficient spaces for immigrants seeking new lives in America. The ship was outfitted with the latest technology, including watertight compartments and remotely activated doors, which led many to claim it was unsinkable. This phrase, although never officially endorsed by the White Star Line, was widely circulated in the press and helped fuel the myth of the Titanic's invincibility. The sense of security it created would later prove devastating. The Titanic's interiors were equally breathtaking. First-class passengers enjoyed opulent staterooms, grand dining halls, Turkish baths, squash courts, and even a swimming pool. The ship's designers spared no expense to create an atmosphere of luxury comparable to the finest hotels on land. Meanwhile, second-class accommodations were comfortable and superior to many first-class offerings on other ships. For third-class passengers, many of whom were poor emigrants from Europe, the ship provided clean, modest cabins and better facilities than they had likely experienced before. The Titanic thus embodied the stark contrasts of Edwardian society, from extreme wealth to working-class struggle, all housed under one roof of steel. On April 10, 1912, the Titanic set sail from Southampton, England, bound for New York City. Crowds gathered to watch the enormous ship depart, carrying hopes, dreams, and ambitions across the Atlantic. On board were some of the wealthiest individuals of the time, including John Jacob Astor IV, Benjamin Guggenheim, and Isidore Straus, co-owner of Macy's department store. Alongside them traveled hundreds of emigrants from Ireland, Italy, Scandinavia, and Eastern Europe, many seeking opportunity in the New World. The atmosphere was one of excitement, with passengers marveling at the grandeur of the vessel and its promise of safety. The journey began smoothly, with stops in Cherbourg, France, and Queenstown, now Cobb, Ireland, to pick up additional passengers. Once at sea, life aboard the Titanic revealed the stark divisions between classes. First-class passengers dined on multi-course meals and attended lavish parties, while third-class travelers gathered in communal spaces, often singing and dancing to pass the time. Despite these differences, everyone aboard shared a sense of awe at the sheer scale of the ship and the adventure ahead. However, beneath the surface of celebration lay hidden dangers. The North Atlantic in April was known for its treacherous conditions, with icebergs drifting south from the Arctic. In the days leading up to the disaster, several ships transmitted warnings of heavy ice fields. The Titanic's wireless operators, however, were overwhelmed with sending passenger messages, and not all warnings were taken seriously. Captain Edward Smith, an experienced mariner nearing retirement, maintained the ship's course at near maximum speed, confident in the Titanic's abilities. On the night of April 14, the air was calm, the sea unusually still, and the sky filled with stars. Many passengers retired to their cabins after a day of socializing. At 11:40 p.m., lookouts Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee spotted a large iceberg directly ahead. They rang the warning bell and telephoned the bridge. First Officer William Murdoch ordered the ship to turn sharply and reverse the engines, but it was too late. The iceberg grazed along the starboard side, ripping open several compartments below the waterline. The damage was catastrophic. Though the ship was designed to remain afloat with 4 flooded compartments, 5 had been breached. As the scale of the disaster became clear, Captain Smith and his officers realized the Titanic would sink. Panic began to spread among the crew as they attempted to assess the situation. The Titanic carried only 20 lifeboats, enough for about 1,178 people, far fewer than the number of passengers and crew on board. This shortage was due to outdated maritime safety regulations and the belief that lifeboats were primarily for ferrying passengers to rescue ships, not for evacuating the entire vessel. Many officers and passengers also hesitated to board lifeboats, unable to believe the Titanic was truly sinking. The first lifeboats were launched only partially filled. Wealthier passengers in first class were given priority, while many third-class passengers struggled to find their way to the boat deck due to language barriers, locked gates, and poor communication. Despite the chaos, acts of courage and sacrifice shone through. The ship's band, led by Wallace Hartley, famously continued to play music to calm passengers as the ship went down. Isidore and Ida Strauss chose to remain together on deck rather than separate, embodying love and loyalty in the face of death. As the freezing waters of the Atlantic flooded the ship, the stern rose high into the air. At around 2:20 a.m. on April 15, the Titanic broke apart and sank beneath the waves. More than 1,500 people perished, either trapped inside the ship or dying in the icy water. Only about 700 survivors were rescued by the RMS Carpathia, which arrived several hours later. News of the disaster shocked the world. The Titanic, hailed as a marvel of modern engineering, had sunk on its maiden voyage. Public outrage over the insufficient number of lifeboats and inadequate safety procedures led to sweeping changes in maritime law. The International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, SOLAS, established in 1914, mandated sufficient lifeboats, regular lifeboat drills, and improved communication systems on ships. The Titanic tragedy also exposed the inequalities of society. Survival rates were starkly divided along class and gender lines. About 62% of first-class passengers survived, compared to only 25% of third-class passengers. Women and children fared better than men, reflecting the women and children first policy, but many families were still torn apart. Over time, the Titanic became more than a disaster. It became a cultural icon. Books, films, songs, and memorials have kept its story alive for over a century. The shipwreck itself was discovered in 1985 by Robert Ballard, resting over 2 miles beneath the ocean's surface. The haunting images of the decaying vessel deepened public fascination and sparked debates about preservation, ethics, and the retrieval of artifacts. The Titanic's legacy endures because it is more than a tale of a sinking ship. It is a human story of hubris, bravery, loss, and remembrance. The Titanic symbolizes the heights of human achievement and the depths of tragedy. It reminds us that no matter how advanced our technology becomes, nature remains powerful and unpredictable. Even today, more than 100 years later, the Titanic continues to inspire lessons in humility, responsibility, and compassion. Its story resonates because it reflects both the greatness and the fragility of human ambition. The Titanic was meant to be unsinkable, yet it sank. But in its memory, countless lives have been saved through improved safety measures, ensuring that the legacy of those lost continues to shape the seas we travel.